Move! The sharp, hostile voice cut through the air like a slap. 12-year-old Amaya Booker stumbled forward, barely catching herself on the leather armrest of the first-class seat. She blinked in confusion, not fully registering what had just happened, until the pain in her shin flared. A flight attendant, blonde bun tight, lips pressed into a judgmental sneer, stood over her, eyes narrowed. "I said move," the woman hissed, then muttered loud enough for the surrounding passengers to hear. "First class isn't for unaccompanied kids from coach, especially not ones like her." The entire cabin went still. Amaya, dressed in clean jeans and a lavender hoodie, froze. She had done exactly what her boarding pass said. Seat 2A, first class. She had walked in with confidence, like her uncle had told her to. And now every eye in the cabin was on her, some confused, others silently complicit. "She probably snuck up here," the attendant snapped again. Then, without warning, she kicked Amaya's backpack down the aisle. "Take your things and get back to where you came from." A few gasps broke out. Someone started to rise from their seat, but hesitated. The woman in uniform wore authority like armor. Amaya didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just stood there, trembling, lips pressed together, eyes burning. Across the terminal, unnoticed by most, a tall black man had just stepped through the gate. He moved with deliberate calm. Dark tailored jacket, boots worn from foreign dirt, eyes that scanned with practiced precision. Dr. Leon Booker. He wasn't just Amaya's uncle, he was the founder of Patriot Equity Holdings, the private investment group that, as of 36 hours ago, owned 51% of this very airline. And before that, he was the most decorated Delta Force commander the Pentagon never admitted existed. He had told Amaya to fly alone for the first time as part of her therapy. She had worked hard to manage her anxiety disorder. This was her moment to prove to herself she could do it. And now, she was being humiliated in front of a cabin full of strangers. Leon's pace didn't change. He didn't rush, he didn't shout, but his eyes locked on Amaya, and then on the woman standing over her. He had been trained to remain calm in war zones. But what he saw now, this wasn't war. This was a line crossed. And when you cross a line with someone like Leon Booker, consequences arrive without warning. The moment Amaya collapsed into Leon's arms at the gate, time froze for him. The clamor of the terminal dimmed behind a veil of adrenaline and fury. He had spent decades staying calm in hostile zones, but nothing, not firefights, not night extractions, not watching brothers in arms fall, had ever ignited the fire now roaring through his chest. She was trembling, not from exhaustion or fear alone, but humiliation, the kind no child should know, especially not in public. Leon didn't ask what happened, not yet. Her silence, her wet cheeks, the smudge of a shoe print on her dress, and the shocked stares of bystanders painted enough of the picture. He simply wrapped her in his coat, shielding her from cameras and whispers, and marched toward the airline's customer service counter. Each step was measured, slow, and deliberate, just like in Kandahar. "Excuse me," he said evenly to the woman behind the counter, a young brunette who barely looked 21. "I need to speak to your flight supervisor. Right now." She blinked, clearly caught off guard by his tone. Icy calm, but unmistakably commanding. May I ask what this is regarding, sir?" "My niece was assaulted by your flight crew, and unless you'd like this to be handled on the evening news, I'd recommend you stop stalling." The girl turned pale. Yes, sir. One moment." She picked up the phone with trembling fingers. Amaya hadn't let go of Leon. She buried her face into his side, hiding from the murmuring crowd. "I want to go home," she whispered. Leon gently touched her shoulder. "We'll go home soon, sweetheart. But first, we make sure this never happens again." 10 minutes later, a woman in her early 40s arrived, wearing a Navy suit and a badge identifying her as Operations Supervisor, Western Region. Her nameplate read M. Keller. She approached with the tight smile of someone used to diffusing PR disasters. Mr. Dr. Booker. Her smile twitched. Dr. Booker, I'm told there was an incident involving your niece. I assure you— I don't want assurances, Leon interrupted quietly. I want the names of every crew member involved in Flight 381's boarding. I want camera footage from Gate B12. And I want to know why a 12-year-old girl with a valid boarding pass was assaulted and kicked off a plane like she was trash. Keller's eyes widened. Sir, that's quite an accusation. It's not an accusation, Leon replied, his voice steel. It's a statement of fact. I'll need time to look into— You have 15 minutes, he said coldly. Before I contact my legal team, the Department of Transportation, and every veteran network I know. If you think you can spin this, Ms. Keller, I suggest you check your network first. My name will light up every alarm you've got. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a promise. And in his eyes, Keller saw something that made her breath catch. A man who had walked through hell and returned with receipts. Please have a seat, she said, swallowing hard. I'll be right back. They sat in a quieter corner of the terminal. Amaya clung to his arm, eyes red-rimmed but grateful. Uncle Leon? She asked softly. Yeah, baby? Are they going to do that to someone else? Leon looked down at her. This brave, beautiful child who had suffered indignity for nothing more than her skin and her silence. And he made a vow. No, he said, because we're going to make sure they never can again. She gave him a tiny nod and leaned her head against his arm. 3 gates away, someone was already watching. A man in plain clothes, not TSA, not airline staff, snapped a photo of Leon on his phone and discreetly typed out a message. Target ID confirmed. Booker's here. Girl 2. Pull internal cam before upload. Unbeknownst to Leon, the incident had triggered alerts far beyond the airline's HR department. Because Dr. Leon Booker wasn't just a retired officer, his name had started showing up in acquisition rumors tied to Patriot Equity, rumors powerful people didn't want confirmed. Back at Gate B12, Keller returned, pale and visibly rattled. Dr. Booker, may I speak with you in private? No, Leon said flatly. My niece stays with me. Say what you need to say. Keller glanced at Amaya, then back to Leon. We've reviewed initial footage. It confirms what you stated. The gate agent and lead flight attendant behaved in ways that are not only against policy, but potentially grounds for termination. Leon didn't flinch. We're placing them on immediate administrative leave, she continued, and we'll be issuing a formal apology shortly. He leaned forward, eyes sharp as razors. You think this ends with an apology? She opened her mouth, but Leon wasn't finished. You assaulted a minor. You racially profiled her. You humiliated her in front of dozens of strangers. I don't want your script. I want systemic change. Keller looked rattled. What are you asking for exactly? Leon pulled a black leather card holder from his jacket. Inside was a single silver business card. He handed it to her. Keller read it, blinked, read it again. Then her face went white. Patriot Equity Group, Managing Partner, Dr. Leon Booker. She stammered. You're the man who just acquired 41% of this airline, he said quietly. Effective as of this morning. The final transfer was cleared while your crew was busy kicking my niece off a plane. Keller dropped into the nearest chair. Now, Leon continued, still calm. I'd like a full list of every current board member, union contact, and in-flight operations manager. Keller didn't move. You can email it to the address on that card, he added. Dr. Booker, I didn't know. That, he said, rising with Amaya's hand in his, was your first mistake. He turned to Amaya. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home. As they walked away, a dozen passengers recorded the moment. Videos that would be all over the internet within hours. The footage showed not just a child who'd been wronged, but a man reclaiming justice without raising his voice. No yelling, no threats, just quiet power. And that, right there, is what made people pay attention. The flight had barely leveled out at cruising altitude when Leon Booker stepped into the aisle. His eyes, sharp and silent, scanned first class. He wasn't looking for a seat. He was looking for someone. He found her, Amaya, his niece, curled up and shaking, her jacket pulled up over her knees like a shield. The row beside her was now empty, her backpack stuffed up into a random overhead bin, and the flight attendant who had kicked her was nowhere in sight. Leon didn't say a word. Not yet. He just knelt beside her. "Uncle Leon." Her voice broke as she whispered it. The moment she saw him, her composure shattered. Tears that had been fighting to stay hidden welled up and slipped past her lashes. She kicked me," Amaya said. "In front of everyone." Leon's jaw locked. Not because he was surprised. Rachel's message had already warned him something happened. But seeing it? Seeing Amaya reduced to this? Anxious, trembling, dehumanized? It wasn't anger that filled him. It was something colder, something precise, something dangerous. "Did she hurt you?" he asked quietly. Amaya hesitated. "My ribs are sore. She said I wasn't allowed in first class. She ripped up my boarding pass, said I was lying." Leon stood up slowly. Around them, a few passengers watched with curiosity, sensing something was off but not daring to intervene. He turned and walked straight toward the galley where two flight attendants stood behind the curtain, chatting as if nothing had happened. The one in blue, the one Amaya had described, froze when she saw him coming. "Excuse me," Leon said, his voice smooth but weighted. "Are you the one who removed a 12-year-old girl from seat 3A? The woman, Tina, according to her name tag, squared her shoulders. "That's airline policy. The child was in the wrong seat. It was reserved for a full-fare passenger." Leon didn't blink. That child had a valid boarding pass. "I didn't see it. You didn't ask." Silence. Then Tina tried to regain control. "Look, I'm not sure who you are, sir, but I suggest you lower your voice before this becomes a bigger problem." Leon leaned in, close enough for her to see the exact steel behind his gaze. "Oh, it's already a bigger problem," he said calmly. "You just don't know how big yet." And with that, he stepped away, pulled out his phone, dialed. "Confirming," he said once the other end picked up. "They did it. She was kicked out of her seat. Her boarding pass was destroyed. And yes, physically touched." He paused. "I want the board notified. We go live in 1 hour." No raised voices, no threats. Just the calm tone of a man who had pulled the plug on operations in war zones and was now pulling the plug on something else entirely. Back in first class, Amaya sat upright, watching her uncle from behind her knees. Her seatmate, an older woman who'd quietly taken Amaya's side, leaned over and whispered, "Sweetheart, your uncle doesn't seem like someone to mess with." Amaya wiped her nose with her sleeve and nodded. "He's not." Down on the ground, the shockwaves started rolling fast. Rachel Martinez, Chief Operating Officer of Patriot Equity Group, was already working behind the scenes. She'd pulled up every personnel file tied to the flight, flagged the captain, cross-checked the crew's HR records, and uploaded the incident, yes, including cell phone footage from a witness, to the internal security cloud. At 10:36 a.m., Patriot Equity froze a $580 million credit facility that supported Skylux Airlines' international fleet leasing program. At 10:41 a.m., a private server pinged the inboxes of the airline's executive board. Subject line: Immediate directive, Ground Team 7A, Flight 231 SIN. By the time the captain got the call in the cockpit, he looked visibly shaken. This is your captain speaking," he said over the PA. "We'll be returning to gate shortly due to an unexpected operational notice. Please remain seated." Back in first class, Tina emerged from the galley, pale. She approached Leon slowly, trying to save face. "Sir, it seems we've had a misunderstanding," she said. "We're working to correct it." Leon didn't respond. He was watching Amaya, who was now scrolling through photos of her dog at home on her phone, trying to regulate her breathing. "She's a child," Leon said, still not looking at Tina. "You touched her. You humiliated her. You called her a liar. I didn't know. You didn't ask." Tina faltered. The rest of the cabin had gone silent. Even the whispers had stopped. "I'm going to need your full name," Leon added, his voice low but clear. "And the name of your supervisor." Tina swallowed hard. "You'll be hearing from corporate." Leon finally turned toward her. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile that made men in combat flinch. "I am corporate." As the plane taxied back to the terminal, panic broke out in the Skylux corporate tower. One of the board members called the airline's CEO. "You didn't tell me Booker was the new stakeholder. You told me Patriot was silent money." The CEO stammered. "He wasn't supposed to get involved directly. He was supposed to let the deal settle." "He's on flight 2317. Silence. "Oh, God." By 11 o'clock a.m., 3 senior crew members, including Tina, were suspended pending full investigation. By 11:08, an internal memo hit every division. Patriot Equity to assume operational oversight of Skylux HR, training, and flight staff accountability protocols, effective immediately. As passengers disembarked, Amaya clung to her uncle's hand. The captain met them at the door, voice tight. "Mr. Booker, we've arranged a private jet to get you and your niece to Atlanta, if you'll accept it." Leon simply nodded. He didn't speak until they were in the car headed to the private terminal. "You okay?" he asked. Amaya nodded. "I didn't cry in front of her." "You did good." She looked up. "Will she be okay?" Leon glanced at her, this girl who could still worry about her abuser. "She'll face the consequences," he said. "That's not our weight to carry." Amaya looked out the window. "Is it because I'm black?" Leon didn't answer right away. "It's because she thought you didn't matter." He paused. "But today, she found out just how much you do." The cabin was heavy with stillness, the kind that settles in just before turbulence. But this time, it wasn't the weather outside. It was the unseen storm gathering inside the aircraft. Amaya sat quietly, still near the front, her little legs tucked to her chest, the imprints of the flight attendant's kick still throbbing under her leggings. She wasn't crying now. She wasn't even trembling. She was just still, frozen in a place beyond confusion and before comprehension. That scary middle ground where kids don't know if they've done something wrong, or if the world has. Leon, her uncle, sat beside her, calm but electric with focus. His fingers tapped a rhythm against his armrest, not out of nervousness, but calculation. Every beat carried a purpose. Then it happened. The intercom clicked on, and the captain's voice came through, uncertain and stiff. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've just received notice from operations. We've been instructed to return to the gate due to a technical issue. We apologize for the inconvenience and will keep you updated as more information becomes available." The lie was textbook, and Leon knew it. Around them, the cabin began to stir. Whispers, groans. A few annoyed passengers pulled off their noise-canceling headphones, while others began texting loved ones with one hand and sipping their coffee with the other. Flight attendants tried to maintain order, but the shift in energy was palpable, especially among the crew. Something wasn't adding up, and they knew it. Claire, the lead flight attendant who'd kicked Amaya just 20 minutes earlier, didn't speak. She stood stiffly by the galley, her hand gripping the service cart like it might anchor her to her job. She could feel it coming. Something she couldn't name, but it was big, and it had her name on it. Leon reached over and gently touched Amaya's shoulder. "You good, baby girl?" She nodded. "Good. We're almost there." Minutes later, the plane was back at the gate. The jet bridge reconnected with a metallic groan, and the cabin door reopened, but no passengers moved. Instead, 3 figures boarded the aircraft, wearing black lanyards, civilian clothing, and purposeful expressions. Not security, not TSA. Internal investigators. Leon watched them like a chess master spotting his knight land right where he needed it. The lead investigator quietly requested that all crew members disembark immediately. Claire's jaw dropped. "What is this? We haven't even—" But she was cut off. "This is not a request. The captain has been briefed. Please take your bags and step off the plane." The cabin watched in stunned silence as the flight crew, still in full uniform, walked down the aisle with the tension of soldiers being marched out. One of them mumbled something under his breath. Claire's face flushed with defiance, then fear. No one clapped. No one cheered. But everyone knew something significant was unfolding. Once the crew was gone, one of the investigators approached Leon and Amaya. "Sir," he said gently, "we understand there may have been an incident involving your niece. If she's comfortable, we'd like our onboard physician to take a look before you disembark." Leon nodded. "Only if she agrees." Amaya looked at the man, then at Leon, and gave a small nod. The exam took place in the front galley, curtained off for privacy. The doctor, a woman with a calm presence and warm eyes, asked Amaya to gently lift her sweatshirt. The bruising on her right hip was already visible, darkening fast. "I'm going to document this photographically with your permission," she said to Leon. He agreed. The doctor clicked a few images with her medical tablet. "She'll need to be monitored, but there's no indication of broken bones. What's more urgent is the psychological impact," she added softly, "especially for a child her age." Leon's eyes didn't blink. "We'll take care of her. You just do your part." While this was happening, the plane remained grounded. But in another part of the country, 3,000 miles away, in a sleek boardroom lined with glass and steel, the footage was playing on a massive screen. 7 executives from Aurora Air sat frozen, watching the internal security camera angle. It captured everything. Claire yanking Amaya's backpack, the cruel words, the moment she lifted her leg and kicked the child in the hip, forcefully enough to knock her against the aisle seat. Then, the video continued to Leon, calm, composed, as he helped the child up. As he sat back down, not creating a scene, not yelling, just watching. Then came the real twist. One of the men in the room paused the video and enlarged Leon's face. "Jesus Christ," he muttered, squinting. "Can someone confirm this?" The woman seated 2 chairs down opened a file. "Dr. Leon Booker, retired Delta Force commander. Confirmed. Currently managing director of Patriot Equity Partners." The room went dead quiet. "You mean the fund that just secured control stakes in 4 major defense contractors last quarter?" "Yes," she replied. "And they've been circling transport infrastructure lately, including airlines." Someone cursed under their breath. "So what are we looking at here? Lawsuit? PR meltdown?" "No," the woman said. "We're looking at a man who now controls more than $1.1 billion in strategic aviation assets. A man who doesn't throw tantrums. He restructures boards." Back in Denver, Amaya and Leon walked down the jet bridge into the terminal. Passengers parted like water around them. No one stopped them. No one spoke. Some had filmed the scene discreetly. A few had tears in their eyes. Mothers held their children closer. As they reached the terminal exit, Leon's phone buzzed. It was a secure message from Rachel. "It's done. Phase 2 in motion. Expect public release by 4 p.m. EST. Safe house ready." Leon looked down at Amaya. "You hungry?" She blinked, surprised. "Kinda." "Good," he smiled. "We'll get you pancakes. Then we'll go home. The real work starts after breakfast." Amaya smiled for the first time all morning. Meanwhile, the first wave of media traction had begun. A tweet with the flight video, blurred to protect Amaya's face, had already hit 2.2 million views. The hashtag #HadJusticeForAmaya was trending. A link to a petition calling for Claire's permanent termination had crossed 60,000 signatures in under an hour. And inside the airline's crisis center, someone was already drafting a press release. They didn't know yet that by tomorrow morning, this wouldn't be a PR crisis. It would be a corporate reckoning. The sunlight over Denver barely softened the steel-gray intensity that marked Leon Booker's expression as he stepped into the conference room at Patriot Equity. This wasn't just another crisis. This was personal. And the calculated fury simmering beneath his calm surface told his entire executive team exactly that. A massive LED screen lit up with split footage, the exterior of the airport, a live feed from Gate 32, and a still of the flight manifest that included Amaya's name. "Give me everything," Leon said, his voice low, controlled, and cold. Rachel Kim, his director of intelligence, was already 3 steps ahead. "We've pulled flight logs, terminal security footage, and airline internal chat logs. The full timeline begins at 8:11 a.m., when Amaya and the escort arrived at security. Incident begins 8:36 at the gate." She tapped the screen, and a muted video clip played. The flight attendant, Claire Devons, gesturing aggressively. Then the unmistakable moment when her foot shoved Amaya's small backpack, and Amaya herself stumbling back, shielding her face. The room went dead quiet. Leon didn't blink. "Audio?" Rachel nodded grimly. "Internal mic picked up everything. Want it now?" Leon gave a short nod. The audio played. "Claire, we've told you already. Standby passengers wait until called. Don't think you can sneak up here just because you're dressed nice." Amaya, "I have a seat. My uncle bought it, 3A. It says priority." Claire, "Sure, sweetheart. I'm sure your uncle owns the whole airline too. Step aside." Then came the scuffle. A muffled cry. A thud. Gasps from nearby passengers. The audio cut. Someone cursed softly under their breath. Leon didn't. Instead, he turned toward the operations director. "You said the captain refused to intervene?" "Yes, sir. Confirmed." He radioed base control saying child was causing confusion and ordered boarding to proceed. Leon's jaw flexed. Rachel handed him a fresh folder. "This is the org chart. Airline management, investors, HR chain of command. All names cross-checked. We've tagged everyone who reviewed or dismissed the incident report." Leon flipped through, then paused. "Tell me about him," he said, pointing to a name halfway down. "Derek Halberd, Regional HR Director. He's the one who flagged the incident as non-priority in the internal review system. Used language like possible exaggeration from minor involved." Leon looked up, his voice sharp. "Does he know who that minor is?" "Not yet. We ensured her last name was masked per your standing security protocols. He thinks she's a regular standby passenger." "Good. Keep it that way." The team looked confused. Leon let the silence stretch just long enough to ensure full attention. Then he spoke, quiet, precise. "Amaya isn't just my niece. She's the primary heir to my stake in Patriot Equity. In 3 months, she takes control of our 17% voting bloc." Murmurs broke out. Leon continued. "And this airline. We've been in silent acquisition talks for 6 months. The deal was to close in Q3. But this changes everything. We're moving early." "Today." Rachel straightened. "You want to activate the trigger clause?" Leon nodded. "Call the trust. Tell them to initiate control purchase via shell entities. I want 52% locked in before market close." A long pause. Then Rachel asked the only question that mattered. "And the crew?" Leon turned to her fully now. "The moment the deal is public, every person involved in this incident is blacklisted. Not just from this airline, from every major carrier in the alliance. No-fly employment status. Their certifications will be suspended pending full behavioral review." Another exec raised a hand nervously. "Sir, some might call that overreaching." Leon raised an eyebrow. "So let them. We're not punishing them for bias. We're correcting a systemic failure. You don't get to kick a child, lie about it, then board a plane like nothing happened." His voice dropped to a level that carried more weight than volume ever could. "You especially don't get to do that when the child's family can buy and ground your entire fleet." No one spoke after that. Leon turned back to the screen. Release a controlled leak to Bloomberg. Mention new ownership group forming. Don't connect it to me, yet. Let them speculate. By the time they confirm, the firings will already be public. He closed the file. I want a meeting with the flight crew on the tarmac, not a phone call. I want them looking me in the eye when they realize who they kicked off that plane. The room buzzed into motion, and Leon Booker, Delta's most dangerous man, now its most dangerous shareholder, walked out without looking back. The hallway outside the airport executive lounge was dimly lit, quieter now that most of the weekend travelers had boarded. Leon stood just past the frosted glass doors, his arms folded across his chest. Atlas, his war-trained Labrador, sat obediently by his side, alert to his handler's body language. The subtle shift in Leon's posture, more upright, colder in presence, meant the ghost was back. He glanced at his phone. The call had ended just minutes ago, but its echo still pulsed in his ears. Not from emotion, but from calculation. Amaya had been kicked. A flight attendant, a grown woman, had physically kicked his 12-year-old niece. He'd asked no further questions on the phone. He didn't need to. Her voice said everything. It was a tremble he'd only ever heard once before, during her first anxiety attack after her mother's funeral. But today, there was something more. Shame. That was what sealed it. Leon took one slow breath through his nose and exhaled. "Stay close, Atlas." He re-entered the lounge like a ghost passing through walls. The receptionist, smiling earlier, now avoided eye contact. Whether from guilt or fear, he didn't care. His only question was simple: who? At that exact moment, two children came barreling down the hallway. A boy in a Sky Vista Junior pilot jacket and a girl clutching a stuffed flamingo. "There he is," the boy pointed. "That's him. He's the one we told." Behind them, a woman appeared. Short blonde bob, badge swinging from a blue lanyard. Her face paled the moment she recognized Leon. "Sir," she said quickly, stepping forward, hands out in a placating gesture. "Mr. Booker, is there something I can help you with?" Leon didn't answer her. Instead, he crouched gently to meet the boy's eye. "You said you saw something." The boy nodded, nervous but trying to be brave. She yelled at her, then she kicked her backpack, but it made her fall. She hit her shoulder. Leon turned to the girl, whose big brown eyes looked down and nodded slowly. His voice softened. "You did the right thing. You told someone." Both kids nodded solemnly. He stood. "Which gate?" he asked the woman with the badge. She hesitated. "Sir, I understand your concern." "Which gate?" His voice remained calm, but there was steel in it now, tempered from decades in operations where one wrong decision cost lives. She flinched. "Gate B12, she's still boarding passengers." "Name?" "Flight attendant, Patricia Weller." He nodded once. That was all he needed. As he turned to leave, the woman reached out again. "Mr. Booker, I must ask, are you planning to make a formal complaint? I'd be happy to arrange for—" "I'm not here to file paperwork," he said without stopping. "I'm here to find my niece." When he arrived at gate B12, the boarding process was nearly finished. Through the glass, he spotted the woman in the Navy uniform. Crisp bun, tight jaw, clipboard clutched like a weapon. Atlas stiffened slightly at his side. The dog knew this energy. And then, there she was, Amaya, sitting alone on a gate bench, her knees drawn up to her chest. Her flamingo had fallen on the floor beside her, face down. Her hair was slightly tousled, the edge of her dress dusty where she must have fallen. She didn't see him at first. She was still frozen. Leon approached gently, crouching down in front of her. "Amaya," he said softly. She looked up. Recognition flickered across her eyes, and then everything crumbled. The mask of bravery she'd held so tightly cracked. Her arms reached out wordlessly, and he caught her. She didn't sob. She just pressed her face into his shoulder, held tight. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. "I was just standing there. She told me to move, and then she said I didn't belong there." Then she kicked my bag. He held her for a moment, just long enough for her to breathe again. I know, he said quietly. I saw the security footage. She pulled back, blinking. You did? Leon nodded. And so did the airline board. That's why we're not just walking away. Behind them, the gate attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. Final boarding call for Sky Vista Flight 1271, Denver to Atlanta. He stood and picked up her bag, still dusty where it had hit the floor. With his other hand, he guided her toward the elevator. We're not flying commercial today, sweetheart, she sniffled. Where are we going? He glanced down, the ghost of a smile on his lips. Home, but first, justice. Back at the private terminal, 2 black vehicles waited. Leon's team was already in place. Quiet men with clipped hair and firm nods, wearing plain clothes that couldn't quite hide their training. Status? He asked. Confirmed, Rachel Martinez replied, stepping beside him with a tablet in hand. We've pulled surveillance from Gate B12, Lounge West, and security check-in. Footage confirms physical contact. Her foot struck Amaya's bag at the moment Amaya turned, which caused the fall. Legal? Our general counsel is drafting the liability notice. We're also initiating internal review under the Patriot Equity Framework. He nodded. And the acquisition? Rachel didn't flinch. Final tranche goes through tomorrow. As of 9 a.m., Patriot Equity will hold 58% of Sky Vista Aviation. That gives us controlling interest in all 6 subsidiary branches, including domestic staffing, which meant the flight attendant in question would soon be reporting indirectly to the man whose niece she had kicked. Leon looked down at Amaya, who had now found the courage to hold Atlas's leash herself. She was walking taller now, even if her shoulders still winced slightly when she moved. He turned to Rachel. Schedule the meeting with the board. I want her removal processed before the market opens Monday. Rachel nodded. Yes, sir. Leon stepped into the vehicle beside his niece. He didn't need to scream. He didn't need to threaten. His silence had already shaken the foundation of an airline. And by Monday morning, the woman who kicked a little black girl would no longer be working in aviation. Not just at Sky Vista, but anywhere. The sharp click of Leon's boots against the polished airport terminal floor sounded like a countdown. He moved with the stillness of a man who had once led ghost missions in war zones where a heartbeat could betray a position. But now, the war was personal, and the battlefield was a corporate terminal. He walked past the glass walls of Gate 37, where just 2 hours earlier, Amaya had been kicked and humiliated in front of strangers. His niece. His blood. Leon didn't rage. He never did. Rage was loud, sloppy, dangerous. What he had was clarity, a cold, coiled stillness that made grown men break into sweat without knowing why. His phone buzzed in his palm. It was a text from Ellis Chen, his lead counsel and internal strategist at Patriot Equity. All parties standing by. Confirm when you're ready. Leon didn't reply. Not yet. He stepped into the executive lounge of the airline. Polished wood, faux leather, the hushed murmur of privilege. A place meant to exude control. He was here to strip that illusion down to the studs. At the back of the lounge, behind a velvet rope, sat Michelle Rollins, the director of in-flight operations. She had been looped into the incident only after Leon's assistant forwarded her the security footage. He didn't sit. You've seen the video, Leon said, voice quiet, cutting through the ambiance like a blade through silk. Rollins looked up, her jaw tight. Mr. Booker, the video does appear concerning, and we've already... Say her name. Rollins blinked. Excuse me? My niece, Leon said. Say her name. Rollins shifted in her seat. Amaya Booker. That's right. She's 12. She has an anxiety condition that requires a structured boarding process and was traveling with a valid VIP companion clearance, one your employee tore up and then physically assaulted her. Mr. Booker, I assure you this is not standard protocol. Leon leaned in, his eyes drilling into hers. Michelle, I was a Delta Force commander. I've led black ops you'll never read about. I know when people are covering their ass instead of owning their failure. That flight attendant kicked my niece in front of a crowd and told her she didn't look like she belonged. I don't need you to recite protocol. I need you to listen carefully. Rollins opened her mouth, but Leon cut her off with a raised hand. Don't. Just listen. He pulled a sleek black folder from his coat and placed it flat on the table. This, he said, is a tender acquisition order for your airline, signed this morning. As of noon today, Patriot Equity owns 51% of your parent company. Rollins went pale. Leon continued, and within 72 hours, the DOJ and FAA will receive documentation from our legal team showing a repeated pattern of racial discrimination in flight operations. But that's not your problem anymore. What are you saying? Rollins whispered. I'm saying you and your entire C-level leadership are being relieved effective immediately, Leon said calmly. The Patriot Equity Board has voted to dissolve the current executive team and replace them with interim leadership. People who understand dignity, equity, and federal compliance. Your badge access ends in 12 minutes. Legal will escort you out. Around the lounge, passengers looked up from their drinks and devices. Someone pulled out their phone. Rollins looked at Leon as if he had just split the floor beneath her feet. You can't just... I can, Leon said. And I just did. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered. Ellis, he said. We've sent the public statement to press, Ellis replied. FAA, DOT, and major news outlets will pick it up within the hour. Also, HR has begun termination protocols for all cabin crew from Flight 228. Good, Leon said. Make sure they're blacklisted across the entire Patriot Aviation Alliance. That's already in motion. Leon hung up. He turned back to Michelle Rollins, who was visibly trembling now. For what it's worth, he said, this could have been an apology. It could have been a moment of humanity. Instead, it's going to be a headline. Rollins stood slowly. You'll regret this. Leon didn't blink. No, you will. He turned and walked out of the lounge as the news alerts began pinging across the screens behind the bar. Outside, Amaya waited in a quiet corner of the terminal, tucked into the curve of her mother's side. Her feet dangled just above the floor, one shoe slightly scuffed from the shove that had started this all. Leon knelt down beside her. Hey, little lion, he said. She looked at him with wide eyes. Did you stop them? Leon nodded. They don't work here anymore, and they won't work anywhere else either. Amaya's lips quivered. You didn't yell at anyone, did you? Leon smiled softly. Nope, I didn't need to. I just reminded them who you are. She leaned into him then, pressing her face into his shoulder. Behind them, a ripple moved through the terminal. Passengers whispering, pointing, reading headlines. Airline executives removed after girl kicked off flight. CEO revealed as her uncle. Patriot Equity acquires stake in airline after incident. Full crew blacklisted nationwide following race-related boarding incident. Leon stood slowly, his arm wrapped protectively around his niece. Come on, Amaya, he said. Let's go home. But even as they walked toward the exit, his mind was already in motion. The private security footage, the eyewitness statements, the pilot's silence. This wasn't just a rogue flight attendant. It was a system that trained silence. And Leon Booker didn't rebuild systems. He replaced them. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Ellis, he said when the line connected, start drawing up the industry-wide compliance standards. I want all 5 airlines under our partnership adopting the zero-tolerance code before next quarter. And Ellis? Yes, sir? I want the new performance review system to include public respect metrics. I want passengers to rate cabin interactions anonymously. No exceptions. Understood. Leon hung up and exhaled slowly. As they approached the curb, a sleek black SUV rolled up. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Amaya looked up at her uncle. Did I ruin everything? Leon paused, then crouched beside her again. You didn't ruin anything, he said. You reminded them who we are, and you gave me a reason to finish what I started. She stared at him. her eyes wide. "What did you start?" Leon gave her a quiet, steady smile. "Justice." The sun was just starting to dip below the clouds as the private jet touched down at Centennial Airport. Inside the sleek black SUV waiting near the tarmac, Leon Booker's fingers hovered over his phone for a moment before finally dialing. His eyes flicked toward the horizon, steady, watchful, like the battlefield never quite left him. But this wasn't war. Not yet. It was family. And this time, the enemy wasn't halfway across the world. It was just 30,000 feet in the air. His call went straight through. "Make the call to Phoenix Air's board," he said without a trace of hesitation. "I want a vote in 48 hours. We're executing the merger." There was silence on the other end for just a beat before his general counsel responded. "Understood. You'll have full controlling interest by end of day tomorrow." Leon ended the call and leaned back. Atlas, his service dog, shifted slightly at his feet, sensing the energy shift. This wasn't reaction, it was strategy. The mission had been activated. Meanwhile, 35,000 feet above, Flight 7118 was in full descent into Salt Lake City. But the tension in the cabin had nothing to do with altitude. Amaya sat quietly in the seat between two older passengers who were kind enough to switch places when they saw her distress. Her little fingers trembled as she clutched the stuffed otter her uncle had given her when she first started flying solo. She hadn't cried, not yet, but the sting on her shin from where the flight attendant had kicked her still throbbed. The stewardess had tried to pass it off as correcting unsafe behavior, claiming Amaya was running in the aisle, even though all she'd done was stretch to pick up her fallen boarding pass. The moment replayed in her head on a loop, the shout, the kick, the shame, and everyone around her had just watched. She swallowed hard. Her throat burned from holding it all in. Back at Phoenix Air's Denver headquarters, phones were already ringing. Leon's legal team had moved with surgical precision, notifying the holding companies under Patriot Equity to begin the formal process of absorption. On paper, it looked like a routine merger, but within industry circles, it sent shockwaves. Patriot wasn't just buying Phoenix. They were integrating it into a new 3-airline alliance set to dominate West Coast routes, and every executive in the know understood what that meant. If Patriot declared a flight crew blacklisted, that crew's aviation career was finished, permanently. Leon wasn't seeking vengeance. He was executing realignment. The captain of Flight 718 had just turned on the seatbelt sign when his cockpit phone buzzed. "Captain Reyes speaking." There was a pause. Then, "You're to hold position on arrival. A security officer will meet the plane." Reyes blinked. "Is there a threat on board?" "No, but there's been an incident involving one of your crew and a VIP passenger." The line went dead. He turned to his co-pilot, visibly unnerved. "I don't like this." The plane taxied quietly into a private hangar, away from the terminal. The passengers began to murmur as the flight attendants tried to smile through their confusion. But even Patricia, the one who had disciplined Amaya, sensed something was off. That's when they heard the footsteps. Not airport security, not police. A tall, sharply dressed man with graying temples and a walk that screamed command presence stepped into the cabin, flanked by two men in civilian clothes, each with the calm, lethal stillness of ex-military operatives. Patricia opened her mouth to speak, but the man's voice cut clean through the tension. "My name is Dr. Leon Booker. I'm the majority shareholder of this airline as of 30 minutes ago." Murmurs broke into gasps. He didn't wait. "You kicked my niece." Gasps turned into silence. "She's 12. She has diagnosed anxiety disorder. You humiliated her. You assaulted her." He turned to the captain, who had emerged from the cockpit, pale. "The merger agreement includes full authority over operational policy, crew review, and executive decision-making. Effective immediately, this flight crew is suspended. Permanently. Your badges, please." Amaya didn't move. She just watched. Her uncle, her quiet, steady uncle, was standing there like he'd never left the battlefield. And somehow, he made the entire plane feel it without raising his voice. Patricia's face went white as she was escorted off the plane. The remaining passengers sat in stunned silence. The quietest justice was unfolding in front of them. No yelling, no drama, just calm, absolute authority. The kind that came with war medals and billion-dollar acquisition contracts. Leon waited until Amaya stepped off the plane, guided gently by one of the female security staff who handed her a warm blanket and whispered something kind. Atlas was waiting near the SUV, tail wagging softly. When she saw her uncle, she finally ran. Not crying, not panicking, just ran like she knew she was safe again. He kneeled. "You okay, baby?" Amaya nodded, then finally said what had been lodged in her chest the entire flight. She said, "I didn't belong there." Leon didn't flinch, but his jaw tightened. "You do," he said, "and you always will." She looked up. "Why did you come?" "Because someone needed to remind them exactly who they're talking to." As the SUV pulled away from the hangar, Leon glanced once more at the darkening sky. His niece was safe. The crew who shamed her were grounded, and the system that allowed it to happen, now under his command. But maybe the most powerful part was that he never raised his voice. He never had to. Have you ever seen someone stay calm and still change everything with just one move? Let us know where you're watching from and what you would have said to that flight attendant if you were in Leon's shoes. Don't forget to subscribe, because in the next chapter, we're about to find out just how deep this power shift really goes. Amaya hadn't said a word the entire ride from the airport to her Uncle Leon's home in the Denver suburbs. The mansion was sleek and modern, built of steel and glass, perched just far enough from the city to offer quiet, but close enough for strategic proximity to everything Leon needed. Inside, it was a world away from the chaos of that plane. She sat on the velvet sectional in the living room, arms wrapped around her knees, her eyes fixated on nothing in particular. Her cheeks were still damp from earlier tears. Atlas, Leon's trained protection dog, sat quietly at her feet, not barking, not growling, just there, watching, grounding her. Leon stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, phone pressed to his ear, giving clipped orders in a tone that had once commanded elite Delta Force operatives. "Yes, initiate the Patriot Protocol. Full assessment on all crew members of Flight 2673. I want employment histories, disciplinary records, social media, everything, and alert the legal team. No, this doesn't wait until Monday. It moves now." He ended the call and turned toward his niece. "Amaya," he said gently, crouching in front of her. "Look at me." She did. What that woman did today was wrong. It was cruel, and it was not your fault. You understand? Amaya gave a small nod, but her eyes were still clouded. "I thought," her voice cracked, "I thought she was going to hit me." Leon felt something cold and ancient rise in his chest, the kind of quiet fury that made him deadly in combat and calm in crisis. But this was different. This was family. "She put her hands and her foot on the wrong child," he said. "She thinks she kicked a powerless little girl. She has no idea she kicked the niece of the man who just acquired her airline." Amaya blinked. "You bought the airline?" Leon gave a tight smile. "Through Patriot Equity, yes. The deal closed 72 hours ago. I was going to tell you this weekend." She stared at him, the gears turning in her head. "So you can fire her?" He stood slowly. "Not just her, the entire flight crew, the supervisors who covered for her, and the executive who greenlit her promotion." Amaya looked down at Atlas. The dog nudged her knee gently. She smiled, just barely. Upstairs in Leon's secure home office, 3 monitors came to life with internal documents, legal filings, and a live feed of Patriot Equity's crisis response room. Leon tapped into a secure conference call. Rachel Martinez, his operations director, appeared on screen. "We have the manifest and incident footage from the gate and in-flight cameras," she said. "Eyewitnesses confirm verbal abuse and what appears to be intentional physical aggression." "Prepare the press strategy," Leon said. "When this goes public, it doesn't end with a statement. It ends with an overhaul, And make sure every internal email from their senior staff this week is reviewed. I want to know who knew what and when." Rachel nodded. "Already ahead of you. Also, we traced the flight attendant's employment history. 3 previous complaints of racially charged incidents, all settled quietly." Leon exhaled. No more quiet. Back downstairs. Amaya was now curled up with Atlas beside her, a throw blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She looked up as Leon returned. "Uncle Leon, will people believe me? That she kicked me?" Leon knelt beside her again. "You won't need them to believe you," he said. "You'll show them." He held out a tablet. On screen was the security footage, clearly showing the moment the flight attendant snapped at Amaya, shoved her backpack away, and raised her leg in an unmistakable kicking motion. It was fast, but it was undeniable. "You okay with this going public?" he asked. Amaya studied the screen for a long moment. Then she nodded. "She didn't just kick me. She kicked every kid who ever got told they didn't belong in first class." Leon felt something shift, not just in the case, but in her, in the strength she was reclaiming. "Then let's show them what legacy looks like," he said. Dr. Leon Booker stood in front of the mirrored wall of the conference suite in the Denver Grand Summit Hotel, adjusting the cuff of his tailored navy blazer. Behind him, the skyline shimmered through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His face, composed and unreadable, masked the storm brewing underneath. A soft knock at the door pulled him from thought. It was Rachel, his operations chief. "They're in the room. Media crews are setting up. Legal is in position. Security's on 3-minute response. You sure you want to do this now, Leon?" He nodded once, solemn. "They kicked my niece off a plane. Then they kicked her soul." Rachel gave a slight nod, then handed him the dossier. "Here's the final layout. Full timeline, names, video captures, and financial flow. We confirmed the whistleblower inside the airline was right. This wasn't just a rogue flight crew. It was policy, coded, hidden in the system." Leon flipped open the folder, pausing at the image of Amaya being pushed off the jet bridge. Her wide eyes, frozen in the frame, said everything. "They didn't know who they laid hands on," he murmured. "But they're about to." The media room buzzed. Reporters whispered theories, producers adjusted lighting, and camera operators tracked every move. They weren't told why this urgent press conference was called, only that it involved the CEO of Patriot Equity and a sudden billion-dollar transaction affecting 3 major airline holdings. When Leon entered, the room fell silent. He approached the podium slowly, Atlas by his side, a silent shadow in perfect sync. "Thank you for coming on short notice. My name is Dr. Leon Booker. I'm a former commander in Delta Force. I spent 22 years serving this country overseas. What I'm about to share with you is not just personal. It is systemic." He tapped the screen on the podium. Behind him, a live feed switched to security footage from Gate 43 at Denver International Airport. The footage showed Amaya, small and visibly nervous, clutching her boarding pass. Then the flight attendant, identified on screen as Trina Mathers, aggressively snatched the pass, shouted inaudibly, and shoved the girl toward the gate wall. A few audible gasps erupted from the room. This was my niece, Amaya Booker. She was traveling alone for the first time. She has diagnosed anxiety. She was seated, calm, and had a valid first-class ticket. Leon paused. She was kicked, humiliated, and removed because a flight attendant didn't like her attitude. The next slide displayed internal emails, HR logs, and a buried memo marked "Do not publicize, Protocol 19 FC2B." This policy, Leon explained, coded under their first-class management protocols, disproportionately flagged young passengers of color for additional scrutiny, without the parents, without representation, without accountability. He let the room sit in that silence. Then he continued, "I own, through Patriot Equity, controlling interests in 3 of the largest aviation holding firms in North America. As of this morning, we completed an acquisition of 51% voting shares in the parent company of Skylynx Airlines. Effective immediately, the following actions are being executed. He clicked again. Suspension of the entire flight crew of Flight 227, termination of Regional HR Director over passenger profiling. Dissolution of the protocol program cited a $30 million settlement fund established for past passengers similarly affected mandatory retraining under the Booker Standard, a new anti-bias compliance framework. The media burst into activity, but Leon raised his hand. One more thing. He tapped the last slide. This industry has operated too long behind coded language, soft power, and buried data. We're going to change that. We're not canceling people. We're overhauling a system, and we're starting here, now. His voice never rose, but every word landed like a steel gavel. Back in the green room, Rachel exhaled sharply. You just shook the industry, Leon. You sure about pushing the retraining protocol so fast? Leon sat heavily on the armrest of a chair. We can do fast, or we can do fair. I pick both. He pulled out his phone and opened a message from Amaya. Uncle Leon, I saw it on TV. Thank you for fighting for me. I'm okay now. He smiled faintly, the tightness in his chest loosening. She doesn't need to be brave like me, he whispered. She just needs to be safe. Atlas leaned into his leg. Leon scratched behind the dog's ears. Outside, the media was still reeling, but inside that quiet room, the war was already over, and Leon Booker had won it without ever raising his voice. Leon Booker stood in front of the tinted glass wall of the Patriot Equity Operations Center, arms crossed, back straight, eyes locked on the flight path of Flight 327 flashing across the real-time global tracking map. Below his calm exterior, the fire in his chest was burning. Every breath he took now carried the weight of what had happened to Amaya and what he was about to do. The team behind him worked in silence, as if they too understood that this moment wasn't just about logistics or finance, it was personal. The screen to his left showed the surveillance footage from the gate. The moment Amaya was kicked by the flight attendant, her body stumbling back, the look of panic overtaking her small face. Leon clenched his jaw. That image alone had been enough to seal the fate of an entire airline. Patch me through to Wright, he said, his voice low but decisive. An assistant tapped her headset. Seconds later, Wright's face appeared on the secure video feed. He was CEO of Patriot Equity's Airline Holdings Division, a former Air Force colonel, and one of the few people Leon trusted without reservation. Sir, Wright said, eyes sharp, posture formal. We're ready? Initiate Operation Groundveil. I want every aircraft associated with Silverline Airlines grounded within the next 3 hours. Partner carriers too. Freeze their maintenance accounts. Suspend all fleet fuel payments. Redirect key gate leases to holding until we complete the asset transition. Wright didn't blink. Yes, sir. Legal clearance already greenlit. Teams are standing by. Leon turned his gaze back to the map. And make sure this name disappears. Silverline doesn't exist after today. Understood. The call ended. A long pause followed. In the silence, Leon stepped back from the screen and looked at the team behind him. Let's move. 3 hours later, national news was scrambling. Breaking, Silverline Airlines grounds entire fleet in sudden operational freeze. Sources suggest corporate shakeup linked to Patriot Equity buyout. Speculation rises over airline misconduct and billion-dollar acquisition deal. Airports across the country reported unexpected cancellations. Passengers were redirected, angry or confused. Flight crews were left stranded, many finding out they no longer had jobs when they tried to log into internal portals and found access denied. In Charleston, Amaya sat curled up on the couch in Leon's quiet townhome, a soft blanket wrapped around her, and Atlas, the service dog, at her feet. The light from the TV cast a faint glow across her face. Her aunt had made her chamomile tea. Her uncle hadn't said much after returning from Denver. She watched the news headlines scroll across the screen. Silverline CEO resigns amid allegations of discrimination, abuse. She turned to Leon, who was seated on the armchair beside her, his face unreadable. "That's because of me, isn't it?" Leon didn't answer immediately. He reached over and gently touched her shoulder. "That's because of what they did to you, Amaya." She stared at him for a moment. "You ended an airline?" He nodded slowly. "I did." There was a long silence. Then she whispered, almost afraid to ask, "Was that okay?" Leon leaned forward, his voice low but certain. "They kicked a child off a plane because of her skin. They laughed when she cried. They thought there would be no consequence because you looked small and alone. They didn't know who you were, and more importantly, they didn't care. Until now." Amaya blinked, eyes wet. Leon continued, "There's a difference between vengeance and accountability. One is selfish, the other is justice." She nodded, slowly. The next morning, the press conference began. Leon Booker stood at a podium flanked by national press, veterans groups, civil rights advocates, and airline executives who now worked for him. Behind him, a giant banner read, "A new standard in air travel, dignity, safety, equality." He began simply. 5 days ago, a young girl was humiliated on one of our aircraft, not because she broke a rule, not because she posed a threat, but because she was black and quiet and easy to ignore. Cameras clicked. Reporters leaned in. "That child is my niece," he continued. "And today, I'm here to announce that Silverline Airlines no longer exists. We have completed a full acquisition. Every executive responsible is out. Every crew member who participated has been added to the permanent Do Not Hire registry for every airline in our alliance." Gasps filled the room. He went on, "But this isn't just about punishment. This is about change. Starting today, we are implementing the Equity Flight Standard across all 7 partner airlines. Blind audit systems for racial bias, trauma-informed training for all in-flight staff, and public reporting of passenger treatment metrics." Leon's final words echoed with authority. "This isn't cancel culture, this is accountability culture, and it starts at 30,000 feet. The room erupted in applause. In the weeks that followed, airline unions scrambled to understand the new policies. Flight attendants who had witnessed the incident began to come forward anonymously, revealing a culture of casual cruelty toward certain passengers, particularly children of color. Amaya's story appeared in The Atlantic, then was syndicated across global news. Oprah's team called. Her therapist said the trauma would take time, but she was beginning to sleep through the night again. And for Leon, he received a single envelope in the mail, unmarked. Inside was a note. "Delta Ghost, still watching? Still proud, M." He folded the note slowly, tucked it into the inner lining of his safe, and looked out the window of his Denver office. Sometimes justice doesn't come with sirens. Sometimes it arrives with a board vote, a bank wire, and a resignation letter. And sometimes it starts with one child getting kicked in front of a crowd. Leon would never let that be forgotten. Marcus could tell from the moment the plane began to descend that the flight crew had already been informed. Their nervous glances in his direction, their suddenly forced smiles, and the stiff professionalism that now replaced earlier arrogance made it clear. Someone had made the call, and they knew who he was. The captain's voice came over the intercom, steadier than before. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as we prepare to land. We appreciate your patience and thank you for flying with us today." But Marcus wasn't paying attention to the captain. His eyes were on the lead flight attendant, Deborah, who had kicked his niece Amaya off the plane, humiliated her publicly, and then tried to pretend like nothing had happened. Now she stood stiffly near the galley, pale and sweating. The moment the wheels touched down, Marcus opened his phone. One missed call. A message from Leon Booker, his advisor at Patriot Equity. "It's done. FAA has the flight report. Union reps will be waiting. News drops in 5. He exhaled slowly, then stood. "Sir, please wait until..." Marcus turned slowly to Deborah, his voice calm, steady. "I think you've done enough waiting for one day." She froze. The terminal was chaos when the passengers disembarked. Uniformed FAA officials were waiting by the gate. A man in a blazer with a Patriot equity pin whispered something into a woman's ear. She glanced toward Deborah and nodded. Amaya was waiting, holding her uncle's hand. She had been allowed to reboard after the mid-flight reversal, but the trauma of what had happened still showed in her guarded expression. "Uncle Marcus, will they really fire her?" she asked, her voice small. Marcus knelt to eye level. "This isn't just about firing one person, baby. This is about changing a whole system." Deborah was led to a private conference room in the terminal. Her co-attendants weren't spared either. Every crew member involved in the incident had their badges collected and were escorted separately. The airline's regional manager arrived in person, sweating bullets and holding a file folder he never opened. But the surprise wasn't over. Marcus and Amaya were taken to a VIP room, where two senior FAA directors were waiting with representatives from the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ. "Mr. Holloway," the FAA official began, "we've reviewed the initial evidence, the video from a passenger, your niece's boarding documents, and the audio from cockpit recordings. This wasn't just misconduct. It was a violation of federal law," the DOJ rep added. "Targeted discrimination against a minor." Marcus nodded, calm but resolute. "And the system that trained and protected her will be under full review," the FAA official replied, "effective immediately." By the time Marcus and Amaya exited the terminal, news vans were already parked outside. The story had gone public. Black child kicked off plane. Veteran uncle exposes airline's culture of discrimination. Marcus didn't say a word to the press, but Amaya, standing tall beside him, whispered, "Do you think they'll believe me now?" "They don't need to believe," Marcus said gently. "They're about to see." Have you ever seen someone in power abuse it and then watched justice catch up with them? Share your story in the comments below. And if you believe the airline industry needs real reform, let us know where you're watching from. Your voice matters more than you think.